just begun to get our share of this world's delight. High hopes we have for the future and our goals in sight. We know we don't get depressed. Here's what we call our golden rule. Have faith in you and the things you do. You won't go wrong. Oh no, this is our family jewel. We are family.
My name's Irene, and these are my sisters Joan and Lois, and we're all Thompsons, and we grew up on French Island. This video had its beginnings about 3 years ago when a friend of mine made a similar video of a family reunion with the elders telling their stories of their early life. And since our family has such a rich and unusual history, I wanted to record it for future generations. And I wanted to acknowledge the people that had gone before us and contributed so much to our lives.
So we took the idea to the annual Thompson Women's Weekend, which we've had for the past 4 years. We were so inspired that we decided we wanted to make a video for our family. And that was the start of a long journey that has resulted in what you're about to see.
We've had a lot of support putting this together, especially from the Thompson elders, who have been willing to face the cameras, and for Faye Misson for her extensive knowledge of the family tree, and from everyone who gave their time and financial support. So this has been really good.
Our great-grandfather, Joseph Henry Thompson, was 14 when he immigrated from England in 1857. With his family, they came on the steamship SS British Empire. They first settled in Portland and then later moved to Melbourne, where he met Ellen Elizabeth Kyte. They had 7 children, one of whom was our grandfather, Joseph Edmund Thompson, known as Ed. In December 1893, they took up a government land offer on French Island. This was called the Industrial Settlement. And this is a photo of our great-grandmother, Ellen, feeding the chooks in the 1890s.
Our grandmother was Margret Annie Broderick, known as Maggie. Her parents, Frank Broderick and Jane Whitely, came from England in 1890 on the steamship SS Hohenstaufen. This is the lid of one of the boxes that their possessions came out in. And this tapestry was done by Jane's mother when she was 12. It's still with the family and is currently with Auntie Isa. They too moved to Melbourne, where Maggie was born, and they too took up land offers on French Island. Edmund and Maggie grew up on French Island and married on the 10th of April 1912 and lived their entire life on the island. They had 12 children, and this is their story.
My name is Margret Elsie Thompson. I'm known as Elsie. I was born in 1914. I'm the second in the family, and my brother Arnold was the firstborn.
I was born Ellen Annie Thompson on French Island in 1916.
My name is Henry Thompson. I was born on French Island in 1917. I am now 85.
About the first thing I can remember was when we first started going to school. And we used to have to get up early in the morning and go and find the cows, and sometimes it was that foggy you couldn't find them in the paddock, and bring them up in the yard to get them milked and separate and feed the calves, and then probably go down home, and perhaps you hadn't had your breakfast. You have to have your breakfast, and then you'd have to cut your lunch to go to school. We often had to walk to school. I think it was about 2 miles walk to school, and then when the school was finished we had to walk home again, and then wouldn't be home long, and there'd be time to be going down the paddock and bringing the cows in again.
play, I don't know, I'm trying to think what we played at.
Before we went to school, and when you come home from school, in those days you had to separate the milk, turn the separator.
And the cream come out one spout and the milk came out the other. And when we got a can full of cream, well then we would send it away.
And of course that had to be taken down to Tankerton to catch the boat by horse and cart, and it was 5 miles, 5 to 6 miles that we had to take.
Sometimes, I mean, we went with the horse and cart and we'd probably have a can of cream on, and someone would have to go to Tankerton to take that down to catch the ferry, put it on the big trolley that went up the jetty to take it to the boat, and then we'd drive back to school. Might get back to school at about 10:30 or 11 o'clock.
Well, one day I took the cream down, and Jack Russell was the chap that used to row out to the steamer in the dinghy, and when he came back he said to me, would I like to go fishing? And I said, oh yes. Well, the time he got some, he had to go up to his house and get some fishing line and say bait, and we went fishing. And of course the time I got to school was about, I think, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I did get a bit of a toweling for being so late and not coming straight back from the boat.
No, I always liked going to school, and not that I was a good scholar, but I think I liked going to school and with the other children, and we played tennis in the lunch hour, and we all liked playing tennis, you know.
About the only thing I can remember at school was when the inspector's there one day, he was asking me, what is the plural of woman? I never had a clue. And he went crook at Mr. Davin, our school teacher, because I didn't know the plural of woman. And it's taken me a long time to remember what it is.
I'm the son of Robert Thompson, who was born in 1919, and he followed Ernie in order. Dad passed away in 1996, and actually that was the year of our school reunion, which was 100 years, which all the rest of the family went to. And they had a big centenary do, we invited heaps of people, and yeah, unfortunately Dad missed out on that one.
Yes, my name was Margret Doris Dusher, and I went to school on the island and knew Percy Thompson, and we more or less brought up on the island and all went around together and had good times together and everything. And Robbie's father married my sister Teresa. Yes, and that's fairly unusual, having 2 brothers marrying 2 sisters in the one family. And I think they were the only 2 in the Thompson family that went to war. They both went to the Second World War and served all in New Guinea.
I'm Henry Thompson. I was born on French Island in the house where my family all lived. That was in the centre of the island. It was just made of wattle, dab, pug, dirt floors, chicory bags or mirror bags on the floor, probably, some of it. We did have some lino in 1 or 2 rooms, I think.
It was just 2 bedrooms, front room and kitchen with a little side room that where the stove was, where we used to cook. And later on, when the family couldn't fit into this, Dad built on 2 more rooms on the side of it. Dad and the boys cut down trees and sawed them up to make boards and timber for building the big shed, also for having double story, what we call the loft, where 4 of the boys used to sleep up there, and where I had my 21st birthday party up there. The way that my father earned the money was to grow chicory. I took about 6-7 months to grow, and then you start harvesting it. And at first people used to dig it with what they call the devil, with a 2-inch or 1.5-inch blade with a lug on each side to dig it, and that's the way they dig it. But and generally there was half a dozen of us children pulling the chicory and laying it out. And you'd top it either with hand if it was fresh enough, or my brother Ernie used to do a lot of the topping with the old-time blades of shearing the sheep they used. And then it would be carted into the kiln, put out onto a rake to rake some more dirt off, and then into a trough to be washed, and then taken up to be put on a wire floor to be dried. My father would have a good fire going there all day, and the next night it would be dry, and he would throw it off into a heap and later bag it.
It was a root, like a parsnip root, that the merchants bought it and roasted it, ground it into a powder, coffee, and it was mixed with essence, coffee essence, chicory coffee essence.
When I was about 11, it was chicory time, and my father had a floor of chicory on the wire floor, and it was nearly dry. We were just having tea, and after tea he opened the door to go up to throw this chicory off, and noticed that it's on fire. So of course he said, well, all come up and bring some buckets, and so we were carting water from the water hole, half a dozen of us, and to try and put this fire out. Anyway, things really did get badly burnt. The wood all got burnt, and it had to be all taken off. And anyway, when the islanders heard about this disaster of ours, they decided to have a working bee and come and help Dad get the roof on again so he could go on drying chicory.
When we were young kids, I mean, there used to be a lot of rabbits around, and we'd be sitting at the table having our tea, and you look out the window and you could see rabbits hopping everywhere.
At times they were that thick that you can almost see the paddocks move.
Grandfather used to go shooting and trapping, and they got a lot of rabbits. Yes, we had every way that you could learn how to cook rabbits.
But just after that, the myxotosis came along and just wiped them out. It was unbelievable, really.
Dad grew a lot of vegetables. I mean, he had to grow the vegetables. Then he grew a lot of potatoes and carrots and pumpkins and melons. And that was another job we had, cutting up melons for making melon jam. And of course they had a lot of fruit trees too there, and you know, you had to pick the fruit and make it into jam. It was stew.
I'd say that Mum was very, very hard working, and she had to make a batch of bread every day.
And Ernie would be down the bottom of the table cutting the bread, cutting bread, and either there's yours, there's yours, there's yours, and throw it up to the end of the table.
We used to, I only washed outside on a bench with tubs, and we used to cut this Preservine soap up and put it in a saucepan on the stove to melt it, and clothes were too dirty to go straight into copper, so you had to wash them first. And of course you'd already lit your copper before this to get your hot water to wash the clothes. and then you boil them, put some of this soap in the cut up soap in the copper, and boil the clothes. And of course they boil and leave them boiling for a while, and take them out and drain them, and then rinse them, and all done by hand, and put on the line, you know.
My mother learned to play the piano when she was young, but when we were all born, she never had much time. She was so busy cooking, and but she did play for the Sunday school we went to.
We used to go to Sunday school about a mile away, where the old hall was in the middle of the island. Now and again there would be a minister come from the mainland. We always wore our best clothes and hats going to church. I know that when I used to go to school, I wasn't keen on staying at school any longer than the 8th grade, and all I was looking forward was to staying home and helping Mum with the work. Yes.
My name is Florence Isabel, but I'm called Isa, short for Isabel, which annoys me. Having a different name to what you register under. And I was born on the 13th of the 4th, 1925. I am the 8th child, and fancy having 4 boys before me, and I never had a girl to play with. It was all boys. One little story, when we were going to school and we were still living in the middle of the island, and Henry used to get upset that he couldn't do his homework when we got home from school. So what we did, when the teacher had left the school, we got one of the ink wells and took some ink with us, and we went into the swamp that we called the swamp that was halfway home from school, and here we were laying on the bank of this swamp. Henry tried to do his homework before we got home from school.
I remember one time when Robert and Percy, my brothers, had the measles, and I had to walk. So I remember running, when I started off, I ran all the way to school, 3 miles, just jog, 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 jog. I didn't want to stop, I wanted to keep running.
I had a sister, Joyce. She was born after me, but unfortunately she was drowned when she was 2 years old. So I lost my playmate then.
I'm not sure how many of us were going to school then, but we were in the horse and cart, and before we got home it started to rain, and when we got home it was still raining, and as soon as our cousin Daisy said that Henry and Isa have come in, but Joyce was not with them. And you see, they came in because it was starting to rain and been outside playing. And so I took the horse out of the cart, and then went looking for Joyce, and thought, oh, she'll be in one of the sheds asleep. And that's where I looked first. And then I realised I couldn't find her, so there was a water hole down the front of the house, so I went down there and no, and couldn't find her, so I walked over to where there was a big patch of scrub, another water hole, and a little well. And then, and that's when I saw her, and she was floating on top of the water in the well. This is a photo of our sister Joyce, the only photo I know of. Her mum is holding her in the back row. She's nearly 2, and she died when she was 2.
My name is Frederick Cyril Thompson. I was born after Joyce, the one they've been talking about, while Mum was away. I was born at Somerville on the 11th of the 10th, 1928.
My name is Rose Lillian Mari, and I was born on the 12th of the 4th, 1931. And I'm a twin, and my twin sister Hope was an invalid, and she lived until she was 26. My mother had a very hard time when she had all us children. There was our Uncle Cephas, who was an invalid, and Hope, an invalid. 2 invalids in the house to look after made it hard going on her.
Cephas was blind, but he still looked after my grandfather and cook his meals and make bread.
Well, he used to wash, the chicory was brought from the paddock and put into a trough to be washed. And he would, well, we might have washed the chicory, but then he would take it out of the chicory trough and put it in a bag. And then he'd drag it to a platform where it went into the cutter before it was cut, and then up by an elevator up into the kiln where it was dried. But he used to feed the cutter, being blind. He could still feed the cutter. And I can remember one night him absolutely screaming. See, feeding the cutter, and the bag had got in and grabbed, the cutter had grabbed the bag and had dragged the bag in. And he was just screaming out that the bag had gone into the cutter. I remember that quite plain.
I remember living in the centre of the island. I remember all the others going off to school and I wasn't allowed to go. And I went running down the paddock up to the fence, and this was a barbed wire fence, and I was trying to get through the fence. And Mum caught up to me and grabbed hold of me and said, you can't go to school, you've got to stay home. Dragged me back to the house. And I didn't go to school until we went to Long Point.
Yeah, Dad bought another farm from where we used to be, and it was called Long Point, down on near the beach.
We shifted from the centre of the island to Long Point in 1936. Dad being a chicory grower, the most important thing was to build a new chicory kiln so that the chicory crop could be dried.
And that was the time when I was still going to school with my older brothers. They helped Dad build the kiln.
Most chicory kilns were 12 foot by 12 foot diameter. Dad decided to build one 14 foot by 14 foot diameter, which I think was a big saving in wood to get the chicory dried.
We ploughed the road up, had to pull stumps and trees and plough the road up with the big ploughs to make it so you could drive in a straight line to get along the road.
In those days, the roads were very poor to get the dried chicory to Tankerton and then by boat to Stony Point. So Dad decided to buy a boat. It was an iron lifeboat supposed to be off the German warship, the Emden. We carted all our own chicory, manure and timber by boat to and from Stony Point.
Long Point Road then was only a horse and cart track, and there was a tree in the road, so they'd made a track each side of this tree. So of course the horse coming home, the horse decides to go one way and I must have tried to steer it the other. So of course we hit the tree and tipped over. Well, it was a bit hard trying to get the cart back, wasn't it?
My grandfather was in his room tinkering away with making cartridges to put in a shotgun to fire, and he hit the detonator, and I don't know why, but anyway it went off, and there was an awful bang, and he blew a couple of his fingers off, and Cephas came down to us where we lived to tell us, and of course eventually we found out that what had happened, and my father drove him to Tankerton and away to the mainland to the doctors. When I was about 9, brother Percy had an accident. They had got up, it was a Sunday, and they'd got up and gone outside, the two boys, and the eldest one, Robert, he had picked up the axe and managed to chop Percy's finger, and so he always had a very bad looking, ugly looking finger.
Yes, I had a crooked leg when I was 9, osteomyelitis. And I was in the Alfred Hospital for about 3 months, I can remember, with it in plaster. And had it in plaster for, I don't know, 6 months to 12 months, I don't know, can't remember. But was travelling backwards and forwards to the Alfred Hospital for 2 years. I had to go every month, and then every 2 or 3 months, and then 6 months. And then when I was 21 it broke out again, I had to go into hospital, and I had penicillin injections. And every 4 hours for a week. I had 42 in a week. And it's been all right ever since.
Yes, well, when I was 12 years old, we were playing around, seeing how far we could throw this stick down, and I must have been, no, my brother Ernie must have been, you know, going to see how far he could throw it, and I suppose he was swinging it around a bit and went to throw it, and it slipped out of his hand and it went backwards and it caught me in the eye. And yes, and they took me down, and I can remember Uncle Cephas sitting on the couch, the end of the couch, and he had his arm on the end of the couch, and I was lying on the couch and it was making it shake, and I know I said, oh, tell him to move, but you know, it was hurting me, you know. And next morning Dad had to drive me down with the horse and cart down to Tankerton to go away on the ferry, and I can remember them putting me in the cabin and sitting me in the cabin. And I suppose when we got over there, I suppose we had to catch the train, I can't remember, catch the train up to Melbourne, and Dad took me to the Iron Ear Hospital. And I can remember being in the bed, and I'm wanting to go to the toilet, and I'm singing out to the lady next door. I said, I want to go to the toilet, and she said, well, they're not coming, so don't worry about it, just do it. And I was in the hospital for six weeks. And I know it was over Christmas time, because Mum must have made a Christmas pudding and cut a piece off for me and sent it up, and it had money in it, it had sixpence in it. No, that accident that caused that, yes, my eye was blind up, never ever got my sight back in that eye.
I started school from Long Point, and I remember Henry going to school, driving us to school, and I think it was Timmy in the Jinko.
It was half-time school. There was only 7 children at our school, Perseverance, then. And of course there was the Fairhaven school, and I used to ride the bike every second day down to Fairhaven school, so as I was more or less getting full-time school. Well, it was 9 miles down and 9 miles back, so that was 18 miles a day when I rode there. I had that many different teachers in my 8 years at school, so I always think that I had a raw deal at school because some of the teachers didn't like teaching, you see.
And when Ija left, there was only Rose and I going to school. Well, when Dad wanted the horse, Rose and I had to walk, or I dinked her on the bike 3 miles. And I tell you what, it was pretty hard pedalling.
I remember later years how the teacher seemed to be late, and we were waiting around. He was coming on the horse, and he was late, and we was waiting around. He didn't arrive, and we decided, well, this is no good, we're going to go home. So we just turned our backs and started down the road, and away he come. I come you back to school.
Something I was going to say about our grandfather. He was a bit of an inventor like our father was.
He was an engineer, and I've been told that he invented the fire escape that they like for fighting fires in Melbourne. But they said he couldn't read or write, and well, of course, he didn't do anything about it, and well, somebody else took it from there, put it that way.
Anyway, he invented a clothesline made with galvanised wire. I couldn't explain how it was made. And there was a round piece, and then 2 pieces of wire went together, and then another little bit, and you slipped the clothes between this tight bit, and it held the clothes, and that went on and on and on, sort of, and you could hang your clothes up without any pegs. And I have me doubts if there is any of that about now, but we did have it down at Long Point.
This was a puzzle that my grandfather made, actually an invention. It's the idea to get them all off, but to enable you to get them all off, you need to be putting them back on over again, and then work back to the back again to get the last. Now they're all off. All off. This puzzle takes a while to do, but there was other things he invented, my grandfather, and my dad was quite an inventor too. He made a cement mixer out of a 44-gallon drum, and it was used quite a lot building the kiln.
Dad must have made this old car into a horse-drawn vehicle with the horse in the front with the shafts, and there'd be about 3 or 4, you know, all driving down in this down to the cricket ground.
He was the main smithy, blacksmith man on the island. He used to repair like wheels of jinkers, wheels of carts, make chicory diggers, or devils as we used to call them in those days. He'd make them in the forge. He was always like worked in the forge. He could, some of the things he'd done, I mean, you can't really believe it, but it's true. The engine we used to cut the chicory with was an Oldsmobile single cylinder. Well, I would say it had to be out of a car. I couldn't tell you the year, but the crankshaft broke, and he sent it to Melbourne. They welded it, and it broke again. He took it up to the forge and welded the crankshaft in the forge, and it never broke again.
At school we played games, and we cleared a big patch, and we made it into a tennis court, and we never had any rackets, so we had to get boards and make a racket with a board to hit the ball with.
Our teacher taught us to play, and my sister Ethel and I used to play with 2 of our cousins.
I can remember going to tennis, playing tennis until I was about, 15, 16, 17.
And then after, we left school, we used to play of a Saturday when we went down to cricket. And there was a tennis court there, and we used to play. And this trophy was played for, and my brother Ernie and sister Ethel played for this too, and she won it 2 years with my brother, and then she went away to work, and I partnered my brother, and we won it for 3 years.
I played tennis right up until I was 84, excepting in between when I was having all the children.
Then I suppose I started playing cricket about 16, 15, I had to guess. Because I remember playing on the old cricket ground. And then it must have been just not long after that when the war broke out. And then there was no cricket on French Island. And I did go to cricket, played with Coronella for a couple of years. Dad used to go to cricket in those days, and John Ratford that had the boat, he used to take us to Coronella to cricket or down to San Remo to cricket. Oh well, yes, I more or less played cricket all my life.
Dad used to love his sport, and he played cricket with the French Island cricket team, and along with all the other brothers, and at one stage later in the years when there was families around, there was actually I think 10 Thompsons in the side out of 11 players. So and I think that'd probably be a record for any team.
I remember going down to Rill, and we only had 9, and there were 7 Thompsons playing. Dad and Arnold, Ernie, Robert, Percy, Henry and myself, Cyril, and Jack Radford and Ern Horton. That was our team.
Dad and Uncle Percy played cricket together along with the other Thompson brothers, and Percy was a renowned opening bowler and at least took a couple of hat-tricks during his cricket career. And Dad, in his early years, well, he used to always keep wickets, but in his early years, so I've been told, he used to be a bit of a bash and crash batsman. So, from his own words, he said he could never block a ball much. He used to have to hit it. But as he matured, he certainly turned into one of the best cricketers down in the Mornington Peninsula as a wicketkeeper mainly. He used to be a terrific wicketkeeper, and he represented the Mornington Peninsula in, I think, in the late 1940s. He first went to Country Week, I think, and he played his last Country Week match, I think, in about 1958 or something like that, and he played in 4 provincial flags for the Mornington Peninsula, which is the highest grade in Country Week. Up until 1990, Dad went to Country Week as manager for those 20 years from 1970, but he still went every year until he passed away in 1996.
I wasn't a good dancer, you know, I can't follow music very well, and so that's why I like the square dances better, because you more or less followed the lead type.
Yes. Well, I would say the real main attraction there was really nothing else that got all the young people together. No.
There's a poem that was written in 1912 which is called French Island Needs a Policeman, and I remember in that they talk about one of the times at the dances when the young guys, the lads, got up to a bit of mischief and they whitewashed someone's horse. They came out from the dance and had gone with this brown horse and came out and they've got a white one.
French Island wants a policeman who can find the blokes, of course, who played a lark at Band of Hope and whitewashed Bond's old horse.
There was another time when someone took the horse and cart was tied up to the fence, and they took the undid the harness and put the cart on one side of the fence and the horse on the other and linked it up together again, and that was mentioned in the poem, I think, too.
Well, Mrs. Woods, she had the post office, and I remember she did play a piano for dances, and I can remember they did buy a pianola, and we used to play the pianola for quite a few of the dances. In the later years, Percy, my brother, he learnt to play the piano accordion just by ear.
Percy Thompson paid for all the dances on the island, supplied the music for all the dances for years, and had dances in our shear and shed at home before the new hall was built.
In those days, when we used to have a dance, I think from memory, once a fortnight.
I was MC at the dances when Percy and Robert went away to the war for a few years. I wasn't much good at it, but we used to make a bit of fun.
They used to scrape wax candles so would make the floor very slippery.
So you could slide around to dance.
Yeah. And the kids used to be running and sliding on the floor.
And everyone went from the babies to their great-grandparents.
There were so many sort of young people, but today, you see, they're down to, I think, 2 dances a year. One for the end of the cricket season and one for New Year's Day.
The New Year's picnic was the most important day of the year when I was young. And most of all, I remember having ice creams, and that was only once a year. The Dixies in the little cups with a wooden spoon, and they were beautiful.
Yeah, the school teacher, Mr. Daffin, used to be one of the main ones, and like running these picnics. We used to have kids races, and I can remember having horse races in those days, tilting the ring.
The flag race would be the flags would be put out on sticks, and about 5 or 6 would ride up and down so you could get all the flags in the tins first for wheat. Also potato race, and potatoes out on the ground, and go and pick them up and put them in the tin.
Another horse race they had was walk, trot and gallop, which was nearly always won by my uncle. He had a very fast walker, and it was always well in front somehow because of it could seem to walk so well.
And we used to stay there and take our clothes, have tea there of sandwiches, cakes, and we'd clean up outside the tank, have a wash, and then get dressed up for the dance.
Oh, there's always a picnic on French Island. Well, they still have. They still have their once a year picnic.
I was 18, 19 and well yes, I went up to Melbourne went to my auntie's place, at Box Hill, and I got a job there like just as working in helping in the house, helping in the home, just doing the vegetables, washing the dishes and sweeping the floor. And then that job finished, and then I went to another job, housework in Ivanhoe, and that turned out to be that I worked for Woodfull, the cricketer, and that sort of was, well, pretty lonely. You did didn't really get the breakfast. They got their meals, but then I had my meal, you had your meal round in another place, and washed the dishes and swept the floors and that, and did the ironing. And but my room was away down the backyard where I was. Fairly lonely, I think, after you've been with such a big family.
When I was about 19, my cousin was sowing wheat at Brim, and he asked me to go and sow wheat with him. And so that I went and sowed wheat with him at Brim for a month. That bag wheat with a needle. And then from there we went up to Wentworth to pick grapes. This was in February. We were billeted in just an open shed, batching, all open one side. But then one day we had a dust storm, and it was 108, 109, 110, and I thought, oh, that's enough for me. I stayed a month, because when we come into the shed after the dust storm, there was a layer of dirt over the bed, over the table, everywhere. And I think that I thought that home might be better than this. And so a month picking grapes and a month sowing wheat. That's the only time I've really ever left home.
My brother Arnold met Kathleen Bond at school, and in 1939 they were married in Box Hill, and they never had any children.
3 months after Arnold got married, he got the measles, and he was very sick at home, and then we had to get the doctor from Cowes to come over and see him, and he was taken to Hastings Hospital. But then, of course, they couldn't keep him there, and he was sent to Mont Park, and they treated him there. I think he was there for about 6 months. Yes, and gradually got better and was able to come home, but he was never fully cured. I think he was on tablets all the time, and sometimes he would get relapses and not be very well.
1939 was also the year Dad bought a new Caterpillar tractor. It was said to be the last tractor coming to Australia when war started.
And the crane on the Clara lifted it off and put it on the jetty at the end of Tankerton Jetty. The chap that came with it drove it down the jetty and over the car ramp, and then I walked alongside it, and then I sat on the running board all the way from Tankerton near enough to Long Point. I was anxious, very anxious to get on it.
I met my husband in 1938 and we started going out together and were married in registry office in Melbourne in June 1940, and we had 5 children, and I'm very glad to say the 5 children are all happily married today with children of their own.
I came back home to help with the housework because a lot of them had the measles. And later on, when we were going to the dances, I met my husband-to-be, Johnny Easy, and we got married 18 months later in 1941. Then our first to be born were twin girls, but they were born very premature. One lived 6 hours and the other 12 hours. And of course there are no doctors on French Island, and still there are no doctors there. After that we had 6 children, 3 boys and 3 girls: Eric, Ronnie, Joan, Irene, Lois and Barry.
From the age of 12 I had preparation for motherhood. I minded my sister's children. When my sisters and brothers had their new babies, I looked after their older children.
The war came along, and he was called up, and he went to war in 1942, and I know he spent most of his time in New Guinea, and he did get ill there and spent quite a bit of time in hospital too.
When Percy and Robert went to war, I had to stay home from school ploughing out the chicory, and with Ernie behind the little plough because it was so wet that year. We had, what, 26 acres in, and I had to stay home from school and help them do the chicory. And we had our next crop in of chicory before that crop was finished, and we never finished digging that patch of chicory until New Year, Christmas Day.
When Ernie and I started going to dances to the mainland, I know there was one night we went down to Phillip Island, Cows, to a dance, and it must have been a bit rough going down. I think there was 3 or maybe 4 of us that night. Anyway, by the time the dance was over, it was blowing a howling gale, and of course, well, no, we couldn't come back home because of that. So I went to the post office to try and ring up Mum and Dad to say we wouldn't get home. Well, the postmaster at Cows, "Why couldn't you have rang earlier?" I said, "Well, we didn't know, did we?" And we had to end up sleeping in the Cows shed down at the end of the jetty with the wind blowing up through the cracks. Oh dear. Well, we must have stayed there till daylight, I suppose, and then went home because it was calmer then.
An aeroplane that crashed on French Island was there for a week under the water, or in and out of the water as the tide went in and out. And they come and put a bomb in the cockpit or something to blow it up so we couldn't do much with it. And then we went down and got every bit we could off it. And after we got all these bits and carted them home, I decided I was going to try and make an engine out of one of the pistons. Anyway, I got an old Star boat engine that Dad bought. Bottom on it was a different type of engine today. It was in 2 parts. So you had the crankshaft and nothing else. So I used the crankshaft, cut the 2 con rods and took them down to Uncle Willie at Phillip Island and got him to weld them together. the right distance, and fitted it all up, and I had it going charging a battery for about 6 hours on pure kerosene, and it got red hot about, and all the fins went blue on it because of the air-cooled engine, and that was all it was ever used.
I met Mary at Coronella. I used to go to the dances in our boat to Coronella and ride a push bike to her place at Willamai, and that just kept going on from there on till we got married. We got married in the Willamai church in 1947. We had 5 children. They are all married now. We lived on a farm on French Island, right on the beach, in a very old house that was very dilapidated. There was a chicory kiln on the farm, and I repaired it a bit and grew chicory and dried it, and that's what we did for, I suppose, 4 or 5 years, and still I could start to clear the land and sow grass, and then I went into sheep farming.
One time when I'd been over to Hastings having the children, and it was when Joan was born, and we were over at Hastings and got our groceries and got down into the boat, and then Charlie said, "Oh, we haven't got much petrol, we better go and get some more." So we'd have to go up the street and get some more petrol. And then when he get down to the boat, and oh yes, we better hurry up, or we'll miss the tide. And when we got to the mouth of the creek, we couldn't get any further, we got stuck on the mud. And this was when I was coming home from hospital with a young baby. So we had to get out, and Johnny carried Joan all through this mud till we could get to the bank, and I had to walk all through this mud to get to the landing, and that's the way I got home from coming from the hospital.
Dad married Therese Dusha, who was my mum, obviously, and she passed away 12 months ago. So unfortunately there's no history there for us to go back on, except for the photos and the memories that we hold.
Pers and I got married, and we were married at Clifton Hill. And then we went for a honeymoon, which we didn't have because I got the measles day after I was married. He had to bring me back dying. Yeah, no, Pers and I were married first, and Robert and Therese were married later. But at the same church, as it turned out, in Clifton Hill. I married Percy Thompson in 1950, and we were married 50 years, and I lost my husband in January after. So we're thankful that we had our 50 years together, which was great, absolutely terrific. This is the last photo I had taken of Percy. It was taken at our 50th wedding anniversary that our children gave us and our grandchildren. So I hadn't long lost my sister, and I didn't want a big party, and they gave us a party all together with the grandchildren and everything at the Hastings Football Club, which was lovely.
This is my wife, Phyllis. She came to the island when she was about 12 years old. Went to school here. I don't know how long we was engaged for. You might know that. Anyway, we was married at Phillip Island in 58.
And we had the 3 children, 2 girls and a boy. And we left the island 72.
Well,
this is my husband, Clary. I met him at a dance, well, on the mainland, Coronella, Bass, I don't know exactly where.
Grant.
Granville. Oh, was it Granville? All right, it was Granville.
Remember, I went and asked Ma Thompson for a hand. Could I marry Ida?
Mum and Dad.
Yeah, Mum and
Yeah,
Dad.
sat between the two of them.
And, oh yeah, Mum's face lit up like the moon.
We were married in the Woolamai Church.
1946.
Yes. 21st of September 1946. We went off to Mornington for our honeymoon.
In?
Oh, in Percy's ute. Percy's little ute.
36, Chevy.
Percy was working like mad the day before, getting it all ready for us, I think.
Cleaning it up, I suppose.
Oh, putting the engine back together. Somebody had it all laying out around the barn there somewhere. But, well, it's been, 53 years now, so we're going along pretty well. I think we'll stay together now. I think the marriage will last.
Once Isa was married, I was home, the only girl, and I missed Isa. And I wanted to go to Bass to see her. So the way up to get there was on my push bike. So Dad said, right, I'll take you across to Coronella in the boat. But I had to get my bike into the boat. And the tide wasn't in to get off the little jetty when the tide was in, so we had to go to the big jetty. And the planks were only like about a foot wide because it was an old jetty that was being pulled down, so there was only the big bearers there. And so to get on in the boat, I had to wheel my bike along this narrow plank out to the gap, and then we had to get the bike down to the dinghy and then row out to the boat to get the bike onto the boat, and then across to Coronella, and then I rode my bike over to Bass to see Isa and Carol. Never forget that.
We had some pretty rough trips over in the old tin boat. One particular night I remember there was a dance on at the Bass, where I lived then, at the Bass. And because I'd managed to acquire a car by then, it belonged to the brother. And I used to go down to Coronella to meet Isa and Ernie. So I'm down there one night, it was a hot summer night, it was boiling hot. And I get down to Coronella and there's a lot of smoke around the island. So here I am sitting on the end of Coronella jetty, dangling my legs over, watching the toadies go past, and waiting for Isa and Ernie. And it was getting later and later. And all of a sudden, out of the blue came one of the Coronella fishermen by the name of Les Alvin. And I said to Les, oh, see any sign of the Thompsons? Oh no, he said, you won't see them tonight, mate. He said, they've nearly been burnt out. So I'd heard then after Isa had told me then that, yes, they almost lost their property at Long Point that day.
There was a fire lit about the centre of the island, and it came with a north wind to us at Long Point, because we were on the south side of the island. And it came right through to our place, around the house and to the beach. I know I was a couple of miles away, further over, where the fire was. The fire sort of hit the Long Point and other places 2 miles away at the same time.
We put Cephas in Hope's pram and we carried Hope in our arms and we went to the beach and out into the water, took towels with us and put towels over our heads while this fire came right down to the beach. and we sat out in the water. Didn't know where the house had gone or anything till they came down for us. Seemed to be hours and hours later.
After Robert and Percy came home from the war, we grew chicory together, and at 21 I got sick of the chicory and left the island in February 1950. And that's when I met Phil. She was at the dances on the island, and before I left actually. And then I went out with her quite a bit, and then we got engaged and married in 52, April the 26th, 52. And went to Sydney for our honeymoon, and then came back and never had a job then. I was out of work for a while. I went painting down the depot just to earn $1 or $2, and then finished up with a job at the Flinders Naval Depot with the Works and Housing. Was with them for 15.5 years. And I left there and went to Crib Point Engineering as a labourer, and I worked on oil tankers, and then finished up working on a lathe till I retired at 64 for 25 years. She died in 88, passed away in 88, so 52 to 88. And I had 4 children, a son and 3 daughters. And they're all married now, and I have 9 grandchildren.
This is my husband Stuart Scott. We got married in January 1953. But prior to being married, there was a breakout from the prison on French Island, and they broke into our house that we had prepared and took 3 sets of Stuart's clothes, 3 pairs of shoes, the suitcase that we were going to be taking away with us, and dragged it all the way down to the north shore of the island, all through the burnt scrub.
But they made a dreadful mess, and it was a little 2-roomed house that I'd built, we hadn't lived in it. And just before this we bought a brand new bed and a couple of wardrobes, and took the bed into the room and put all the new clothes on it when we got married. And Rose had bought up some homemade jam.
Bottled fruit.
Bottled fruit.
Put in the cupboards.
Put in the cupboards.
Preparing, you know.
And they'd opened this fruit and tipped it all over the new beds and everything else, and all over the new covers.
You was on Bluey, and Bill Goodyer next door on his horse.
That's
and
right.
you had white horses.
I had a white horse, and so did he, Malky's old roachback.
And you had your guns, and you tracked them down to Bayford's Kill.
Yeah, that's right. It's right on the north shore, down about 3 or 4 miles.
And you had them rounded up before anyone else came along. And Bill had his thermos of tea with him, and he was offering them a cup of tea.
Yeah. And I had to stand by with a gun in case something went
Yeah,
wrong.
and you were standing by with
I didn't feel like giving him a cup of tea. He was a real gentleman.
In those days, deer would come onto the chicory paddocks eating the chicory. And we used to have deer hunts to try and shoot the deer, like to keep them off so they didn't come on the paddock. I was posted in a gully where they thought the deer might go. I was standing on top of my car by myself. They started shooting at the deer, and I could hear the shots, and the 3rd shot got me. It went in there between me ribs and out me back. Well, I thought I'd die myself. I just thought, well, I can't stop here. I jumped off the car and got in the car, and I drove half a mile to where the other cars were. There was nobody there. So then I drove to Peg Thompson's,
I remember well.
and it was Saturday afternoon when the telephones weren't working, and Peg drove me down to the post office, and they rang up from there to get the doctor to come over. Well, I suppose it was 2 hours before the doctor got there, and I was laying down on a bed, and I can remember whether it was Mary, that's my wife, when the doctor came, they lifted me up, and she said, oh, the blood spurted out my back or something. But anyway, everything was okay, I was okay as far as that goes. I hadn't got any worse, so they said, well, I'll have to take me to Melbourne. So I was there for, I think it was 13 days. And really, I've had no bad effects from it at all. No feeling whatever, no, well, I suppose you'd have to say 1,000,000 to 1 chance. I've been shot a couple of other times.
In the wrong place at the wrong time.
Anyway, and I remember once when I was duck shooting, a shot was fired, and the pellets, there was, I think the one's still there, I can feel it, it's there. The doctor said, I think there was one there, one went in me lip or something, and there was another one I think around here somewhere. But when I went to the doctor, he said, it was too much trouble to try to take them out. They won't do any harm, we'll just leave them there.
When the children grew up, the school in the middle of the island was too far for them to drive the horse and cart. They used to go only 3 times a week, but found that too much of a problem, and so we wrote to the education department to see if we could get a school open down our end, that we had a building that was suitable, and we were able to get a school teacher to come down and board down there so that they could have full-time schooling. When it first started, there was 6 of my children and 3 others, and it was enough to open the school.
After we left French Island, we went over to Leongatha, where I live now, and I was the curator there at the Leongatha turf wicket for 11 years. I did make a turf wicket for the West Indies when they came to Leongatha. I did the turf wicket for a team for New Zealand, and also a turf wicket for Sri Lanka when they came to play at Leongatha.
Colin, my husband, was in the Hastings Hospital, and well, he was in there. He had been in hospital before and not very well, but this time, well, he was only in there for about a week, and he took a heart attack and died. Colin was 67 when he died, and I had my son, eldest son, and the youngest son living at home. The youngest one was only 12 years, going to school, and the older one was 22 and able to carry on the farm work with my help, milking cows and doing chicory, but it was very hard.
Approximately in the late 60s, 1960s that is, he became president of the association that controls French Island. So the association was a group whereby if you wanted roadworks or you wanted particular things done, the association had a big say in any way, maybe getting money from the government to do things or whatever.
One of the things that I remember about Uncle Henry is when I was very young, we used to go to school by horse and cart, and it was quite a long route. We had to leave really early, about 7:30 I think it was in the morning. We only went 3 days a week. And Uncle Henry, I think it was probably in conjunction with the Progress Association and also Uncle Robert, but Uncle Henry ploughed across the pinnacles and created a road which made it a lot shorter for us to get to school.
It's strange because our son Laurie works for a private company and he gets sent over there to do the roads, grade the roads, trim trees, and of course he just loves it over there.
In his capacity as president of the association, he did do quite a few interviews to reporters, TV stations, about different happenings on the island, when they were changing things to national parks, when they were floating different ideas around to do different things to the island. They'd come and see what the locals thought about them, and a lot of times Dad was the one that was interviewed and was the one sought after to talk about these things. And there was an article in The Sun, I know, many years ago, the Double Sun, and it's got King Bob Thompson as King of French Island. Also being as being president of the association, he was captain of the local fire brigade for what must have been at least 20 years, I would think, for a long time, and certainly did a lot of work for the Country Fire Authority, as all the family did when they were on the island.
When the barge came to the island to run between French Island and Coronella, my youngest son Roy learned to drive it, and he was only 15 then, and has been driving it ever since. And the barge brings over super and fuel and supplies for people, also takes off lambs and cattle to go to market.
Mum had a shop at the back of the house, and she sold just general groceries. The boat we had used to, the boys took it to Stony Point to get the groceries, and when they came into the shop in boxes, they'd be all boxed up, wired up, and I'd have to unpack these and put them up on the shelves. People would ring up for an order on a Saturday morning, and we'd have to rush around and get these orders ready to take for people going to the cricket in the afternoon. When I think of my dad, he was such a hard worker, always working, and did a lot of work in the smithy, mending and making things. Never time for going out visiting. But then in 1961 he bought a new car and taught Mum to drive from the age of 70 on until she was 90, drove.
I lived with my grandparents, Ed and Maggie Thompson, for about 18 months in 1964-65 when I was teaching at Perseverance State School. I was about 17 at the time, and just thinking about Grandma driving, there used to be this kind of joke, and maybe it was in later years too, well, you know, watch out, Grandma's coming down the road, because she tended to drive in the middle of the road, and so people used to be, get off the side of the road, Grandma's coming.
When the family gave them their 50th anniversary, well, I mean, they were blown away, I'd say, you know, very, very happy with that, and they loved their children very much, I'd say. They loved their children very much, yes.
Grandpa died in 1967 and Grandma in 1983, and this is the last photo of them taken together.
They said one morning, the morning he died, he got up and said, "Oh, nice day," and he used to smoke. He used to roll his own cigarette papers from the newspaper. Never had cigarette papers, it was only newspaper, and I believe he rolled a smoke or something, or had a smoke this morning, and he just passed out after that.
I think she was around 50 when she got sick, and the doctor said that her heart had gone to the pack. She lived till she was 93, so she did a wonderful job.
When Mum was 92, she went into hospital for a minor operation. She had a fall and broke a hip while there, and Isa and Clary did a wonderful job of looking after her for the rest of her life there, until she was 93. She died in December at the age of 93.
This is an article that was out of the local paper. It was taken at our 50th wedding anniversary. This was in 1991, and then I lost my husband in 1997. Once he was gone, it was fairly lonely for quite a while, and now I have sold my house and shifted into the Somerville St John's village.
When we sold out in French Islands, we went to Lingangatha, and on the farm I bought 165 acres, and I would say I've got 3 to 4 kilometres like of planted trees, which are quite nice, but every time there's a wind, the sticks and limbs keep coming off, and I never got the farm nice and tidy. So in the end I started welding bits of things together on the farm, try this, try that, and in the finish I came up with this implement that I've made. And to me, I'm wrapped with it. You see, as far as I know today, you cannot buy an implement for cleaning up sticks and logs anywhere. I've been to the Lardner field days where they've got all the machines and implements under the sun, but there's still nothing that you can buy specifically for cleaning up fallen sticks and logs and in grass paddocks. So this invention of mine, I thought, would go very well. I have sold a dozen all over Victoria, but well, without advertising, you just can't seem to sell them.
We had a Thompson family reunion in 1994. It celebrated 100 years of the Thompsons living on French Island. We had a wonderful day at the local hall with over 300, I think it was 330 people from all states of Australia having a great day together. And this is a photo of the Thompson children and one of the Thompson grandchildren and the great-grandchildren.
This is the last photo of the 10 Thompson children taken together at Isa's 70th birthday in 1995.
The other day, actually July the 31st, it was my birthday and I was 88. Well, I'm very pleased and to be as well as I am, able to look after myself. And I've 6 great-grandchildren, 16 grandchildren and 6 great-grandchildren, and 3 more expected in the next 4 months.
I've got 16 grandchildren and 16 great-grandchildren. And another one on the way.
Stuart and I have 6 children, all girls, and we have 16 grandchildren, and we have lived on the island all our lives. And in January 2003 we will have been married 50 years.
But it seems to me as though in life it doesn't really matter how bad it is or how good it is. Other people are all in the same boat in that era.
We were a very close family and we stuck together all along the way. Things were difficult at times, but we always came out with a smile.
It doesn't seem to be that much hardship as far as that goes. You get used to it, and if everybody's the same, well, it's all right.
I reckon if Pop Thompson could see all this now, I reckon he could disappear.
First of all, thank you everyone for coming today. But there are some people I really wanted to thank, because part of this really is about honouring and appreciating the amazing family that we have and the generations that have gone on before us. So thanks to Faye and Joan and Lois and also to me. I came up with the idea, I just needed a team to have it happen. Yeah, so really just I can't think of what else to say, but I hope you've had a great day.
Makes a difference for the guys here though, doesn't The Cox plan.
Can they be that close? Just let me state for the record, we're giving love in a family dog. We are family. Sing it to me. We are family. Get up everybody and sing. Living life is fun and we just begun to get our share of this world's delight. say, can they be that close? Just let me state for the record, we're giving love in a family dose. We are family. Hey, I got all my sisters with me. We are family. Get up everybody and sing. Sing it to me. We are family. I got all my sisters with me. We are family. Get up everybody and sing. Living life is fun and we've just begun to get our share of this world.